All right, welcome. Hal Ginsberg Show. Halitics. Got to start to call it Halitics, not the Hal Ginsberg Show. Halitics, my politics, but yours too. Call in. You've got the number on your YouTube's channel screen right now. And I say 11 to noon Eastern Time live. That's when you can call me and we can chat about issues that matter to you. That's what's different about this live stream. I mean, I like a lot of other hosts. Well, I won't say a lot. There are a few other hosts I love and a lot I don't like very much. And we'll probably talk more about them as time goes on. But what I do and what I will, this show will always be about, this live stream, Halitics will always be about is you. What matters to you, your thoughts, your concerns. This is the old style live talk show. It's not radio because people don't use radio anymore, but you can watch and listen to me live 11 to noon, Monday through Friday. Most days, of course, I'll take some time off. Yesterday, we had the hero from the holler, Maury Johnson, on. Maury is going to be in town in D.C. I say in town in Washington, D.C. from West Virginia. Not too far for him to come this weekend. It is the Rocking Chair Rebellion, the gathering of the third actors. Third act, you know, you have your different acts in life. These are folks who are seniors who are fighting desperately to save our planet. We'll talk about the Democrats and we'll talk about the climate catastrophe, the cataclysm. It's too serious now to even call it a crisis. We'll talk about that a little later in today's program. If you call in the number there, 240-363-7150, you'll be welcome to, I should say, a dial pad conference. And that's how I do it. I'm in that conference. I'm also on Zoom. That's how you get to see me live. And if we have live guests like Maury yesterday, like Medea last week, like journalist Marion Douglas Ungaro earlier this week, then you see us and you can talk to us live. Today, no guests, just you and me, and also some videos. So I played a little bit of this yesterday. I got to work on that, because when you're in the studio, radio-wise, no one sees you, although now everything is videotaped anyway. But I do this where I push, so that's part of my, back and neck pain issues. And I also wear the sweatshirts. I love the sweatshirts. I love the hoodies. I've been wearing the Wesleyan sweatshirt. I got the Georgetown. I got Maryland. I got to get some new ones. There was a show back in the early 80s with Ted Knight. If you remember Ted Knight, he was on the Mary Tyler Moore Show. Also great actor who was in Caddyshack, one of the funniest movies of all time. Ted Knight was a cartoonist. And he would wear sweatshirts every show. He would wear a different sweatshirt from a different university. People would send them in. So I remember that. I don't have so many sweatshirts like he did. And I like hoodies. He didn't wear hoodies as far as I can recall, but I like the hoodies, especially because they keep the heat low at highest in my house, and it's been cold lately. All right, there I'm scratching. All right, let's get to Annapolis, Maryland. I was here Monday. You may catch a glimpse of me. This program is going to be, I won't call it Democrat bashing. I'm not going to just go after Democrats, but the focus will be on how Democrats, I believe, have let us down. I'm going to try to be balanced. If you want to argue with me and tell me why Democrats don't deserve my ire, why we should just talk, or we should talk mostly, or even just talk some about Republicans, I don't spend nearly as much time. I admit it. I'm a Democrat. I believe you got to clean up your own house first. I don't like pointing fingers at others. They don't like it either. I think you're more persuasive when you acknowledge your own shortcomings and those of your own group. I also don't really think Republicans are mutable at this point. I don't think we can change society through the Republican Party. I do think that Republican voters can easily, many will be persuaded, as many did vote for President Obama, not just once. Some voted for him once. Fewer voted for him twice, and then some of them turned to Trump and the Republicans. I think there are good, understandable reasons for that. I don't think they're just all deplorable, and I don't think attacking, insulting, criticizing them gets us where we want to go. I do think changing our party to the extent we possibly can is in fact, perhaps the only solution. The only other solution I have is to go to a third party to abandon the Democrats. And I'm happy to do that anytime I possibly can. Join with the Greens, join with any party that has run or is running great candidates. We didn't see that. We haven't seen that from, what is it? Well, Working Families Party in New York generally runs Democrats. They rarely run alternatives to the Democratic Party. And there was a offshoot of my organization, Our Evolution, at one point that was trying to run I guess not, that was the Working People's Party. There's Working Families. What was the other one? I can't even remember. But they have not run anybody. So unless you're running candidates, I don't know what good you're doing, to be perfectly honest with you. All right, let's go to Annapolis. This is Medicare for All, healthcare for all. And we'll talk about this in the context of two states, mostly, Maryland and California, then also get to the Fed. So let's hope this works. Here's our actually, you know what? It's not going to work. So I'm going to go back to my, it's not going to work because I don't think I have my audio. Let's see if we can hear it. Let's just hope it does work, but I don't think it will. Yeah, there it goes. All right. I hear, no, not working. We'll see if we can get that audio up for you in 1 sec. Share sound. So there, I'm going to click it. I click share sound. You might have heard. Let's try it one more time. And they did a really nice job, WBAL TV here. So I was very glad to, I'm very glad to give them a little bit of a promo here by playing their video.
This group is a coalition of people from around the state, 350,000 strong, who say health care is a human right. Dozens of people gathered in Annapolis Monday, rallying to make health care more affordable for all.
All right, let me just stop it right there. So yeah, dozens, and that's kind of generous. Maybe there were about 35 of us. I don't know. It was disappointing. It was a cold day. It was miserable. You'll see me standing for a moment shivering, and that makes it tougher. I think people have kind of given up on politics. I really do. I think so many of us acknowledge, recognize, view the political system as broken to the point where neither party listens. Now, if any place should be a testing ground for universal single-payer care, it is Maryland, if not California. We have in the state of Maryland veto-proof Democratic majorities in both the House of Delegates and the state Senate. We have a Democratic governor with a Oprah seal of approval. If there's anywhere where the political system should work for poor, struggling, and working people, it is the state of Maryland. And if it's not Maryland, it's California. You got Gavin Newsom, a San Francisco Democrat, in the governor's mansion. You've got, I believe, veto-proof majorities in both the Senate and the House. You had Bill Monty, my friend. I am proud to call Bill Monty, former state senator from Monterey, California, a friend. He was the state Senate president, one of the most powerful people in the Golden State, and a true progressive. He made his bones fighting for the field workers, for the Cesar Chavez group, the United Farm Workers. And he was, I believe, is a supporter of Medicare for All, of universal care. They didn't get it. He didn't get it. We'll talk about what happened in California just last year. So if you want to say, well, Hal, it's not the Democrats, it's the Republicans. If you want to say Democrats are doing the best they can, then my response is, what about in California? Are they doing the best they can in California? What about in Maryland? Are they doing the best they can in Maryland? Because I don't think so. I don't see myself getting universal single coverage in my state. I don't see it happening in the state where I used to live, California. So I'm not persuaded by those of you who say to me, oh yeah, it's all on the Republicans. Stop blaming the Democrats. Well, why shouldn't I? If they can't pass laws where they have veto-proof majorities and a governor, then how is it the Republicans' fault?
Saria Ben knows firsthand how medical bills can pile up. She was the caregiver for her elderly parents who both had health insurance.
Bills started coming in. They didn't know it. I started getting it. And I'm not talking about one bill. I'm talking about some days 50, some days 100 bills. And this was bills that the health insurance companies would not cover.
She says while they were in the hospital, her parents racked up hundreds of thousands of dollars in medical debt. And that's why she's taking part in the rally.
We're here today to urge our legislators to pass our robust legislative agenda, which will expand access to affordable health care for uninsured patients. It will help to keep costs down on certain copays and prescription drugs, and also urge for single-payer universal health care.
The group End Medical Debt Maryland specifically supports 7 pieces of legislation this General Assembly session that would make health care more accessible and affordable to every Marylander.
All right, I'm going to stop it right there for just a moment. I'm going to play the rest of this video. I think they did it. BAL TV, hats off, did a great job with this, and they really covered the bases. We have tried to get some of these bills through before. This isn't like a first time. This isn't our first rodeo, as my friend Phil says, and he spoke at this rally. We have been pushing and pushing, and we can't, a couple bill, maybe a couple of drugs are there's some negotiations. I don't think in Maryland any. We do see that in the federal government, a few. But basically, the healthcare industry is in control. They're in control of the Democratic legislature. We are not able to pull back to claw back the inordinate, obscene profits that they're making off of people and destroying lives in the balance. How is that the Republican Party's fault when the Democrats have veto-proof majorities? In Annapolis, both state houses, both houses of legislation, and the governor's mansion. How is that the fault of Republicans in California? Democrats are not fighting for you. It's that simple. They're taking money from the billionaire class and betraying you at every opportunity.
We can inform them if we can make consumers more aware of what's going on and what their options are, and we can rally people around this cause. I think awareness and education is the first step to making a lot of this possible.
Saria Ben worked hard and slowly.
Right, so Crystal says there that we need to make people more aware. But the thing is, people are aware. When Bernie went to West Virginia and talked about healthcare, he got an enormous outpouring of love from a state that went for Trump, 30 points. We get it. People get that if they had universal single payer care, if there was Medicare for all, they get that the bills would go to the government and they would be paid by taxpayer money. People understand that. It's the legislators who are simply refusing to do what would be best for all of us, with a tiny few exceptions of those at the top, and what would also be incredibly powerful for them politically. Can you look? The New Deal brought 30 plus years of Democratic control, one party rule, because they made life better for poor, struggling, working people. This is what Democrats could do again. They could do this again, but they're not. They're not. How is that the Republican Party's fault? If you have an answer, tell me. 240-363-7190. 240-363-7190. Remember, you're going to a conference call, and then I'll get to you in just a moment. All right, let's go back to that slide deck. Just the slide, know how.
Off her parents' medical debt, but she knows not everyone can. She hopes legislators will take this issue to heart so others don't end up in the same position.
I would like to see a more inclusive medical system that covers some of these bills, so people are not, when they're in their most vulnerable state, not worried about, that next bill.
This group is urging folks to call or write their legislators in support of this legislation. In Annapolis, Kim Dacey, WBAL TV 11 News.
All right. So Kim did a really nice job. I want to compliment her. I want to thank WBAL TV for that really nice video that they just did. And I don't like what I just did, which is apparently go to a full screen, which was not what I intended to do. And I apologize for that. 363-7190. Join me, 240-363-7190. I'm going to get the slide deck back, so we may have a little bit of a video issue again. And also, don't forget, like the videos, subscribe to them. Actually, I say that in the wrong order. I want you to subscribe. The liking, great. If you like them, I love it that you like them. But the real issue is the subscriptions. That's how we get numbers, right? Is if you subscribe. Or let me see if I can get to my little video, my little slide deck here again. And I want to let's see if we can get this here. So transition, and I'm going to go to hell, don't show slides. There we go. Now the next question, can I, and I've been challenged by this, can I get to the next slide without starting the slide deck? You may hear it. Let's hope you don't. I've got an idea how to change that. So at least if it goes off again, I can stop sharing the sound. That way you won't hear it if I screw up again. And there we go. All right. So 240-363-7190. So is it the Democrat? Am I unfair to Democrats? Since I talk so much about them, it's my party. I think that we try. I think people who live in the glass houses, I've said this before, shouldn't throw stones out. Throw them in. Let's have that rock fight. But let's have that rock fight within our party, because until we're good, until we really are on the side of poor, struggling, working people, who are we? Who are we to be condemning those who won't vote for Democratic candidates? I mean, this is the thing. There's so much condescension. What's the right word for what a lot of you feel for Republican voters? Is it condescension? Is it that they're racist? I mean, it just insults? Or is there a recognition, hey, maybe, just maybe, they have some legitimate concerns. Maybe they're doing the best they can for their families, the people in their lives, just like you're doing the best you can when you vote. To me, that's where I come from. Now, obviously not if you're a CEO, obviously not if you're a plutocrat. It's a very different kettle of fish. You're a working person. You haven't seen a pay raise, and a meaningful raise, a real hike in your income in 10, 15 years. If you're constantly being told by your boss that if you squawk, your manufacturing plant's going to be moved to China or Mexico or Haiti. Well, I get why you wouldn't want to vote for the party of, quote, free, unquote, trade. Do you get that? I get it. If you're struggling with massive debt from medical procedures that are in part, more expensive, or at least there's an argument they're even more expensive than they were, in part because of Obamacare, well, maybe you aren't going to want to vote for Democrats. Do you understand that? I get that. I get that feeling. We've got to reach out across the aisle in support of policies that will truly improve the lives of us, of all of us. And what policy could do that? What policy do we think is most likely to do that? I'm going to tell you right now. I think it's this one. As soon as I get that screen, I'm going to get it right. We'll get it for you. But I honestly don't see how anything will make a greater difference in people's lives than some kind of single payer universal care. It just is so obviously a game changer. And you heard that from Saria on that video. You heard that from Crystal. People are just the pain that many are going through because they cannot afford care. They cannot afford it for their families. They cannot afford it for themselves. It's just been devastating. And I don't know why. I honestly don't know why this is such it's an issue with us. It's an issue on the left that we're not demanding from our legislators that they support this. And I'm not understanding. So maybe you can tell me, maybe you can call and explain Why, when California universal health care bill dies without a vote, and it's a full-on Democratic majority veto proof, why this doesn't cause you to say, you know what, we need something different. Maybe it's not Republicans. Maybe it's not, that's not the answer. But how is it not a wake-up call that we've got to be looking for something better than this Republican Party? Because I just don't get that. I honestly don't. How there isn't more outrage from some of you and an unwillingness to just simply allow yourself to be distracted by insults, by criticism of Republican voters, because that's what happens. That's what we see over and over. Well, you can't criticize the Democrats because you're helping the Republicans. How is that a response to this? How is that a response to California universal health care bill dies without a vote? This isn't ancient history. This is a little over a year ago. Who's to blame? So let me see if I can get that screen a little better here. So I'm losing my technical touch. I'm going to get that better. I'll go to Hal, just Hal, probably. So we'll get that video for it. We'll get that slide. But here's the thing. How is this not an indictment of your Democratic Party? And why would you be still telling me I'm too mean to them when they aren't out there fighting for you? So here, it just seems too obvious to me that this is all on them. It's all on those Dems. 240-283-7262. 240-283-7262. So, I mean, aren't you furious? California Democrats Monday, 1 year ago, failed to gather enough support to advance a government-funded universal healthcare system, succumbing to intense pressure from business groups and the insurance industry. They wouldn't even have a vote. They wouldn't even advance that bill. Why? Because they succumbed. With Democrats like that, do you need Republicans? Do you need to defend them? Why are they even? I don't even understand the succumbing part. It's a one-party state. What are they concerned? What is their worry? Please, if you can, tell me what the concern is about those, Republicans, the corporate elites, the insurance. Why are you so worried about them, Democrats? That's what I don't get. Maybe you can help me with that, folks. 240-283-7262. Why you are unwilling, because this isn't the feds. This isn't where, the squad is going to say, well, nobody's, they don't like us. It's racist. It's sexist. It's this or that. That's not what's going on here. It's just flat out corruption. It's just flat out corruption in the Democratic Party that's keeping you from having a sane healthcare system. So, maybe there's some excuse. Let's find out. Debate. What was the bill debate about? It was about costs. It was about expenses. And okay, maybe there's some justification. Maybe it's just too darn expensive. Look, a 2017 proposal said it would cost $356 billion in 2022 dollars. Except here's the problem with that argument. Oh, it's too expensive. That seems like a lot, right? But the state is going to spend $517 billion, or was estimated in the beginning of 2022 to spend. It will spend about $517 billion. So this would have saved California, my quick math, $100 the total cost to the state would have been reduced. Healthcare costs would have been reduced by about $160 billion. You know what all that money could do for all the struggling people in the state? 160 billion. You have 35 million people. 160 billion. Where does that work out per person? I don't know. I have to 50, 500, $5,000 a person, I think. $5,000 a Californian. Think you could use that money? Think what it would make life a little better for you? And also, it's not just 5,000 a person. The people who would benefit disproportionately are poor, struggling, working people. They would get, if you're in that category, you would get the equivalent of far more than $5,000. You think that wouldn't improve the economy in California? State which may have the highest percentage, it only has the most homeless folks in the country. They have the highest percentage of impoverished people, the most expensive state in the country. $5,000 a person. Most of that, higher than that percentage going to poor, struggling, working people. If they had enacted, if the Democratic veto-proof majority with Gavin Newsom in Sacramento as governor, they would have just saved your state 156. Did I do that math right? $161 billion. 5,000 a person, I believe. Incredible. That's the benefit of universal single care. And you're not getting it. And you're not getting it from Democrats. All right, let's go to the next. So the California Nurses Association condemned the decision by the sponsor, Ash Kalra, not to call the vote for a bill, saying that that decision not to call the vote for a bill provided cover for those who would have been forced to go on the record about where they stand on guaranteed health care for all people in California. Anthony Rendon, the Assembly Speaker, I believe he ran at one point for California Democratic Party chair, said he was deeply disappointed there wasn't even a vote. Now, Kalra said, well, we weren't going to win the vote. We weren't going to win. There wasn't going to be a vote. We weren't going to win it. That was his defense. That was his argument for not calling the vote. So is that a good enough argument? Is that good enough for you? That was what the squad said back in 2021. Well, we can't have a vote on Medicare for all. We can't force the vote because we'll lose it. California Nurses Association just said called BS on that. The Assembly Speaker, Anthony Rendon, who is pretty progressive, give him props, pretty darn progressive. He called BS on that. He said, no, let's get people on the record. By the way, you can call me 240-363-7190, 1130, 240. It's Halitics live. Welcome to my show and subscribe. Click that subscribe button. Click that subscribe button and it says, oh, I'm muted. Well, I'm not muted to you, but if people call in, I'll be muted. I'm going to mute them. So if someone calls in, I'll get to you as quickly as I possibly can. 240-363-7190. Finally got a couple calls this week. Kind of knew they were going to call in advance. I want to hear from you if I don't know in advance. Oh, I actually didn't know yesterday's caller, but he was calling in response to the hero from the holler, of course, Maury Johnson. All right, let's get to our next slide here, because the argument I'm making here is Democrats in Maryland, Democrats in California have the power to really, really make life better for millions and millions and millions of Americans by enacting universal single-payer care, and they're not going to do it. They're not even going to reduce your out-of-pocket costs, or very minimally, they're going to reduce your out-of-pocket costs for needed medications. To the extent they'll buy them for you, that's good, but they're paying for those medications full, bloated, inflated price to the pharmaceutical companies that are jacking prices up, knowing that it's a insulin's a life or death drug. Medication for hemophilia is a life or death drug. And rather than negotiate down, they're paying full price, full inflated, bloated price with your taxpayer money. That is what the healthcare system we have. Even when we do something good for people, we're enriching, empowering the plutocratic, soulless, amoral, for-profit healthcare industry. Now, we just saw in California what a mistake it was when Ash Kalra did not insist on a vote, even if he was going to lose it, even if he was going to lose the vote, even if Medicare for All wasn't going to pass, he didn't call for it when he had an opportunity. And the California Nurses Association says that's wrong. You should have. We got to get people on the record. Also, people, if they're on the record and they know that they're being watched, they may surprise us. They may actually vote the right way sometimes. I'm not saying they always will. I'm not saying that this is a guarantee by any means, but there's always a chance, right? There's always that chance that they will. So let's go back in time. I think this is a little kind of an old fight. I want to go back in time to 2021 when the Democrats had a razor thin majority. Now, we already know Democrats aren't on our side a lot of times, right? We just saw it when they could do something for us, they didn't. They didn't do it. They're not doing it in Annapolis. They didn't do it in Sacramento. So maybe what we need is a few progressives with true leverage who can really hold Democratic corrupt leadership to account. That opportunity came after the 2020 presidential election when Joe Biden won and Democrats had razor thin majorities in both the Senate. That came actually just after the turn of the year, 2021, when both Georgia Senate seats went to Democrats. But the House was by a very slim majority Democratic. And the decision who would lead the House of Representatives was in the air. The Progressive Caucus could have said, no, we're not going to vote for Speaker Pelosi, former Speaker. Well, she was Speaker then, I believe. We're not going to vote for Pelosi unless she agrees to, at a minimum, put healthcare on the ballot. And here's a football player, an NFL player, Justin Jackson. He was kind of leading this charge along with Jimmy Dore, Brianna Joy Gray, Justin Jackson online tweeting, if AOC don't do what Jimmy says, and if they don't withhold their vote for Pelosi, then they're going to show that they're not on our side. So do you buy that? Do you agree with that? Oh, most people didn't. Most Democrats thought, oh, that's awful. What a bad guy Jimmy Dore is. He's on the side of Trump. Yeah, we can't win. We can't win. We shouldn't withhold our vote. Of course, we shouldn't demand a vote on Medicare for All in return for Pelosi to be Speaker. Now, if the squad hadn't voted for Pelosi, they'd voted for, say, Hal Ginsburg, there'd be no Speaker. You have to get a majority of the votes to win. So as long as they didn't vote for Kevin McCarthy, he ain't going to be Speaker. Nobody's Speaker. It wasn't a choice between Pelosi and McCarthy. It was a choice between Pelosi and nobody until she concedes something. We saw that this year. We saw that when the Republicans refused to vote for Kevin McCarthy for Speaker unless he conceded. Many of the hard right extremist Republicans said, we're not going to vote for you, McCarthy, unless you give us leadership positions, unless you promise you're not going to vote to simply blindly increase the debt limit, the deficit limit. And the debt. And I, on balance, don't agree with a lot of what they were demanding. But they were showing a strategy that works. They got what they wanted. And our folks, our squad did jack. They got nothing. So Justin Jackson says if AOC and the squad don't withhold their vote, they're showing they're not on our side. And of course, they weren't. They didn't. But they did have a response. Let's get to why they didn't. So here's Let's see. Here's AOC, and I think I can just get rid of my stupid little oval there because we want to see all of the represent. By the way, I was a huge AOC fan. I was incredibly excited. I don't love that picture of her. It kind of makes her teeth look bad, but I don't know if that was the purpose. Let's get to that. Yeah, I don't love this picture of AOC at all. And it kind of makes her teeth look bad. I don't know if that was the purpose. If it was, I do apologize for that. It's the video. But Matt Orfalea did a nice job with this video, and I think that's what we wanted. So why didn't AOC demand, along with her fellow squadron mates, Cori Bush, Ayanna Pressley, in New York, now his name escapes me. He had been elected in 2018, I believe. Maybe it was 2020. Why didn't there were a couple from New York State, Pramila Jayapal? They could have tried to get the Maryland progressive Jamie Raskin on board. Why didn't they? Why didn't they? Jamal Bowman, that's who I was struggling to find. Okay, here's AOC's response. So why not? Oh, we'll have to get. Oh, there we go. Okay, hold on. Got to get that audio. And I just blew it again. That's the second time I've done that, folks. I'll get there, I promise. Let's see if we can get me. There we go. So we'll get there, I promise. We want to get that share screen up and get the sound. That is what I'm really looking to do. So let's see if we can do this. Share screen. There we go. Share. So here we go. There's AOC. Let's see if we can hear why she didn't force the vote. Why am I not getting that? Did I not click share sound? There we go. Here we go. See, I need a producer. I remember when I was in California, someone said, you should hire some college kid to do this because you're not that good at it. I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I know I'm making mistakes, but I know what I'm doing. And to teach someone, a lot of college kids really aren't tech savvy. They know how to turn on their iPhones, but that's about as far as it goes. All right, here we go. Here's AOC.
Is not incentivized, on the whole, not incentivized to work in actually expediting guaranteed health care in the United States. Now, does that mean it's not going to happen?
All right, so let me just stop it. I'll get more AOC in just a sec. Her answer to why she's not forcing the vote is because they're not incentivized. Washington is not incentivized. So my answer is, well, why didn't you incentivize them? We just heard the California Nurses Association call BS on not holding leadership feet to the fire. We just heard the Assembly Speaker. We saw the Assembly Speaker, Anthony Rendon, said, no, you got to have that vote. You got to get people on the record. AOC saying, nah, we don't need to. Here she is.
Absolutely not. Because mass movement organizing can force it to happen. Force it to happen. Do not trust any political party to automatically work in your.
All right, so there's, don't trust them. I appreciate that explanation. Again, that we're not incentivized. That's the problem. People aren't incentivized in Washington. Well, I think that's why you have a vote. I really do. I think that's the purpose of the vote, is to incentivize people to do what's right when they know that they're being watched. And for the life of me, I don't get why we didn't see real movement. But you just heard, well, she says they're not incentivized. So let's go back a little more, because the purpose of this is, you think the Democrats are your friends. You think the Republicans are on your side. But whenever the Democrats you think the Democrats are on your side, the Republicans are the enemy. Republicans are the enemy. I'm not disputing that. But are the Democrats on your side when they have the power to make change? They simply don't do it. So here's AOC responding to the argument of Justin Jackson that you've got to call for a vote. So she says, problem with this idea, I know this is an oldie but a goodie, but we've got to revisit it in light of what we just saw in the House, where Republicans did not give in to simply the pressure to vote for Kevin McCarthy, where the hard-right Republicans said, no, we'll make you Speaker, Kevin, if you do what we want. And they got it. The opposite of what the progressives did in Congress. They, when they had the opportunity to make or break a speaker, said, oh, we'll go ahead and vote for you. Just like they all voted for Hakeem Jeffries, the representative from Wall Street and AIPAC. So in response to the insistence of Justin Jackson that progressives forced the vote, she says, well, there isn't enough thought given to step two. The Dem votes aren't there yet. And with a razor thin margin, the Dem no's are greater than the margin. So you issue threats, hold your vote and lose. Well, you just keep holding the vote. You keep saying we're not voting for you until you demand a vote on Medicare for all, until you call it. That's what you do. That's all you do. Now, some would say, well, we're stopping business of government. Well, what's the business of government but to make life better for poor, struggling, and working people? Isn't that the whole point of it? Isn't that why we have it? We don't have to worry about the rich and powerful. They do just fine without government. People like Elon Musk and Bezos, guess what? They can hire their own police forces to protect themselves. They can build electric fences and cordon off their compounds. They'll be perfectly fine with or without government. They can find doctors and law. They can find all the things they need with their wealth. It's poor, struggling, working people who need government to work for them. So if you're not gonna demand better for poor, struggling, working people, why are you there? I mean, why would we want you there? What possible reason could there be? So again, AOC says, well, and I do accept this. Well, she says, we're not going to get Medicare for all, even if we have a vote. Well, probably not, but maybe we would. I accept that. But we can use our leverage to push for things that can happen and change lives. So here are a couple of things that, yes, it would have been better. $15 minimum wage, elevating longtime progressive champions in important positions of leadership. And those are doable. Guess what? I don't remember those things happening. I don't remember any $15 minimum wage getting passed. Yeah, there was a vote. It didn't happen. There was no $15 minimum wage. So it didn't happen. Now she's saying, well, we got a vote. Well, you could have gotten a vote on Medicare for all too, and you didn't get it. And we didn't get a $15 minimum wage. And you didn't, by the way, get your champions elevated to important positions of leadership. AOC, you got nothing out of it. Who are the progressive chairs? They're all, the Democrats put a bunch of old guard conservatives and corporate Dems in charge of everything. And now your minority leader, Hakeem Jeffries, he's younger, I'll give you that. He's black, I'll give you that. But he's the representative from Wall Street and AIPAC. What good does that do African Americans? What good does that do younger people to have somebody who is a little more like them when it comes to identity, but doesn't have any commitment to make life better for them? That's who your Democrat, that's who your progressive leaders are. How is this in any way okay with you? Why should I be talking about Republicans when your Democrat Party isn't on your side? And that's your party. That's what we need to fix. All right. I'm going to try to be a little fairer to Joe Biden. I'm going to try to see the positives there because, yeah, you know what? He's not Trump. And in some ways, Trump wasn't that bad. I was talking to a friend of mine who spoke at that healthcare rally, and he pointed out, hey, Trump didn't get us in any new wars. And Trump did kind of get us out of Afghanistan. And Trump did try to bring about peace with Russia. Of course, he got impeached when he stopped briefly shipping arms to Ukraine. Maybe there wouldn't be war with Ukraine if we had stopped all those arms. I don't know. Maybe there wouldn't have been war with Ukraine in Ukraine. Maybe there wouldn't be hundreds of thousands dead on both sides of the battle lines in Russia and Ukraine if Trump were still president. I don't know. possible. Joe Biden, the administration, this is day I went back, I had a golden oldie for you, which was Forced the Vote 2+ years ago, brand new, hot off the presses. Biden administration approves huge Alaska oil project. And I was just sickened by this. I'm like, what's the point? There's a carbon bomb. We're burning our planet up. 8 hottest years ever, at least since we've been recording data, have been the last 8 years. There's no possible way that happens by luck. That happened because we are burning fossil fuels at ever increasing rates, creating the greenhouse effect. That's why we're in the climate cataclysm we're in right now. So I read this and I was just absolutely sick. And I was like, forget it. How could anyone defend Democrats? And yet I saw some posts on Facebook. Oh, why do you only talk about Democrats? How about the Republicans are? Well, I'm going to try to be fair to Biden. So if you look at the subheadline, administration also announced new limits on Arctic drilling. Now, if it was Trump, I don't think you'd see any new limits. You just have drilling, but no new limits. So there's something there, right? That's a positive. And that maybe it was in an apparent effort to tamper criticism. Maybe there's legitimate concern about the environment and the administration. I'm not certain about that, but I'm willing to give them a little bit of a benefit of a doubt there. So let's continue with this story from the New York Times. The Biden administration gave formal approval for a huge oil project just the other day, 2 days ago, 3 days ago, whenever it was. I guess it was Monday because I was coming back from Annapolis. And at the same time, as I mentioned, restriction on offshore leasing. Now, as one admin official put it, they want to form a firewall to limit future oil leases in the region. And the Interior Department said it would issue. And when I first read this, the yellow, I thought, well, that's good. That's good. They're going to reduce, they're going to put a firewall, right, around future oil leases. That's a good thing. But also, they're going to block them, right? I thought, on more than 30 million. Then I read the rest of the 23 million. So that means barely over half of the National Petroleum Reserve is going to be off limits. And my guess, I could be wrong, is it's the half that doesn't have petroleum in it. So really, they're not doing anything. Really, Biden isn't putting any firewall around anything. They're only blocking it from 13 of the 23 million acres. How is that acting up? Maybe again, Trump would have opened the whole thing up. I'm going to try to give Biden a little more credit here. Let's go down. So they approved this despite concerns, substantial emissions, damage to freshwater sources, right? Because the ice is fresh water. Well, there's going to be more melting of ice and there's going to be leakage and there's always seepage and they're going to be burning the methane off. So there's danger to freshwater sources, threats to migratory birds, caribou, whales, and other animals. Well, they still approved it. Now, why? Now, this is really the reason that I'm trying to find something for Biden here. The Biden administration says it doesn't have the legal authority to deny permits. So because the permit to drill, they have the leases, they can't deny the permits to drill. So do I accept that? Maybe this is a stopgap effort. And I did ask Maury about this yesterday. He said, oh, come on, Hal. There's going to be lawsuits. ConocoPhillips there's always going to be suits no matter what you do. Do the right thing. Say no. Fight it in the courts. Go to the American people. On balance, I'm going to buy that. I can't look. I get it. Maybe the Biden administration doesn't have the stomach for a fight. Maybe they're afraid of what will happen in 2024 if they deny the permits and the Republicans make a big stink about how this is why the cost of energy is rising. Although obviously this isn't going to come online for money. To me, you say we're stopping this because of our children, because we have to save the planet, and this will kill the planet, which we're already killing. So we have to stop it. But we are going to make sure that Americans have enough energy to heat their homes. We're going to have a massive Green New Deal, exploit solar, exploit wind. And when we do burn fossil fuels, we're going to do everything we can to do it in the least destructive way possible and the least destructive extraction. But really, we are forcing the cost of energy from fossil fuels higher so that we incentivize ever more clean, green energy. And to me, that's what you do. And you make that point, and you also say, the rich have to pay more because we are going to have to burn less energy. We are going to have to consume less ultimately. And that means you have to make sure that poor, struggling working people have enough. And the only way we can do that is by taxing the obscenely wealthy. That's what I would say. That's what you should say. That's what Biden needs to say. But okay, I'm going to give him a sliver of an excuse. Maybe the administration really doesn't have the legal authority. Maybe they're right. Maybe they would lose in court. Maury's point is fight it out. Make the oil companies spend their money. Make ConocoPhillips burn up millions and millions on legal fees, which is what it would cost. Delay, obfuscate, obstruct, because companies hate delay. And it's not going to be cheap to go up there and drill. It's not going to be cheap to go up there and build a huge compound and a refinery. So do everything you can to make it less appealing to ConocoPhillips, and maybe you'll stop them. That's the real answer. That's why I ultimately can't give Biden a pass. Even if maybe legally, maybe those Trump judges would ultimately pass the permits, would actually overrule a denial. Of course, there's another option the Democrats have repeatedly refused to invoke, which is, hey, bump up the Supreme Court from 9 to, say, 13 members. Appoint 4 new justices and you'll have a majority. Now they can't. Now that the Senate is still Democratic. They could do it, but they're not going to. But if you're so concerned about the court screwing you, then bump up the size of the Supreme Court, and then they won't be able to. But I want to make this final point. It's 11:57, 3 more minutes. The cornerstone, according to the New York Times, of the efforts here to peel back, to limit what ConocoPhillips can do, is a declaration that the entire Arctic Ocean will be off limits to oil and gas leasing. Well, it's kind of funny because they only took 13 million of the 23 million acres off the table. But okay, let's say that's their goal. And the Times says they are completing an effort that began under Obama. All right. See, this is where people say to me, how can you criticize the left wing, supposedly the liberal media like the New York Times? They tell us the truth. I remember this. How is that the truth? I want to get to this next story. U.S. will, it's an old story. It's another oldie but a goodie. U.S. will allow drilling for oil in the Arctic. I thought Obama administration was stopping it. And here I see a headline that says, wait, no. No, it's allowing it. Well, wait, how could that be? I thought the ocean, I thought we just heard that Obama was stopping, that the effort was to reduce or to eliminate. And now I read just the opposite. U.S. will allow, back in 2015, that was the date. Let's see, we go to the next slide here. So I'm going to show you this again. Obama administration gave conditional to allow Shell to start drilling. May 11, 2015. Obama's president. How is that a win for the Arctic? How is that an effort to stop the drilling? It's just the opposite, isn't it? The New York Times tells you Obama was trying to stop drilling. I see him opening it up in the Arctic. That's where that's where I am. That's what where the Times was in 15. So tell me again. Call me tomorrow, 240-363-7190. Why am I supposed to be nice to the Democrats? Why am I supposed to forgive their transgressions? Is it the Republicans are just that much worse? I guess that's the only answer. I guess that's the only answer. Well, look, we always try to end with a feel good. I'm going to end with a feel good. So here's your feel good moment for today's call, today's show. Oh, you just saw it. I just went back. Oh no, here we go. So here's your feel good. The tournament. It starts tomorrow. We're already in the play-in games. I'm super psyched. Can't wait. Enjoy the basketball if you're a fan. And this is the men's bracket. The women bracket is on the other side. William filled out both. I'm probably not going to do that because I don't have any idea. I think Texas could probably win this thing. That's my prediction if you want to hear it first. You all have a great day. Welcome to the Halitics. I'll be back tomorrow. Don't forget, like,